Hello everybody and welcome to Gaming Instincts TV. This is going to be a post-analysis of the new God of War gameplay footage that was revealed in late March of 2018. This is going to be more of a quick thoughts and brief analysis rather than a close scrutinizing look. So before I talk about anything at length, I want to sum up what we got in this footage, because upon reflection, it actually is quite a bit to digest. So for me personally, the best part about all this is really the video itself. This is 15 plus minutes of mostly uncut, unedited Norse brutality. I feel like a lot of the gameplay we have been shown up to this point has been heavily scripted or specifically engineered for demonstrations. This seems like something that was taken straight from the game and is a lot more natural. In case you've been out of the loop, it's safe to say we definitely aren't on Mount Olympus anymore. Something that a lot of God of War fans still aren't completely sold on. And if you're one of those on the fence people, this footage could have been exactly what you were looking for. We've heard some skeptics voice concerns about the game losing its intensity, its violence, and its gore as it attempts to become more of a precision-based game, a game that requires accuracy and a more tactical approach. And I think this footage is trying to send a message to those skeptics that they are trying to retain all of those extreme elements of God of War that so many of us have come to love and kind of expect from the God of War games. Even though the combat here is a bit slower and there is a big focus on getting the most out of every hit, the enemies show massive recoil from every blow. It seems like there's a lot of weight in the movement and that they wanted to get something that you would really have to become familiar with as time went on, memorizing each swing and the different combos. It definitely seems like the days of mashing square, square, triangle, and then frantically pushing the evade button afterwards are over. This might also address concerns about the fact that Kratos is no longer solo, especially those who have been on the fence about the once solo Spartan receiving a little boy for a companion. His son, Atreus, which I hope I'm pronouncing that right. I've been working at it, but I don't think it's getting any better. Anyway, we also get a better look at the new menus, the HUD, enemies who will have their health displayed above their head, in addition to having their strength measured in levels displayed next to their health bar. We also get a shallow dive into weapon and armor crafting and blacksmithing, who will be performed by none other than a runaway, sassy, grouchy smurf. Out of everything I've seen so far, this character seems the most out of place. Both the idea of blacksmithing and crafting are new elements to the God of War franchise, replacing the old simplistic one currency upgrade system from previous games. Crafting and blacksmithing also leads into a new element for God of War, which is looting and resource gathering. We get a quick look at a few crafting materials, currencies, resources, how experience points work, health pickups, which will be dropped by enemies now, and Kratos' new and improved method of opening chests, which is more efficient than ever before. None of this is really new to gaming on paper, but seeing it in a God of War game definitely gives a feeling of a breath of fresh air. And it's still very surprising, to say the least. And as far as surprises go, we'll also be able to change Kratos' armor pieces for the first time ever. So in addition to being the daddy of war, it seems like Kratos is going to get an extensive look at the Norse catalog of fashion. I won't lie, seeing the famed God of War don a breastplate is an incredibly weird thing to see. Something that my eyes are going to need getting used to. So far, his skin and simple cloth have been more than enough to deal with his enemies and literally lay waste to an entire world. You know, a lot of things about the God of War remake reboot I should say, keep bringing me back to the DMC Devil May Cry reboot of 2013. It's definitely a case of one reboot handled properly and one mishandled. The proper one being God of War. It seems as though whenever they manage to reveal a new mechanic for the game or take a closer look at combat, that the reception is just a lot better than anything we got with Devil May Cry. And seeing as though they're franchises that start around the same time is just an interesting comparison for me to make. So anyway, we get a really, really solid look at Kratos' new weapon, the Leviathan axe. And unlike Kratos' Blades of Chaos, there was definitely going to be a lot more precision and accuracy required with the Leviathan axe. Even though it seems that they're trying to retain some of the long-range attacks that Kratos used to have by giving the boomerang different abilities, as in the ability to throw it and call it back, as well lodge it into enemies and give it elemental properties, like the ability to freeze enemies after multiple hits and shatter them into a million tiny pieces. There's definitely a huge change of direction for this game. In fact, I remember God of War 3's campaign being marketed on how many enemies they could cram on the screen at once. It was something they were very proud of. So let's not dance around the Estus flask in the middle of the room anymore. Creative director Corey Balrog has recently said in March of 2018 that while Dark Souls was a huge inspiration for the game, they did not just want to mimic Dark Souls, but instead that there was a loop inside the gameplay of Dark Souls that they were very fascinated with. And that loop from Dark Souls seems to be the foundation that they are building this new God of War franchise on. And when I think about it like that, it actually gets me a lot more hyped up. Whether we see any more things borrowed from Dark Souls, like a Firelink Shrine or Nexus type of area where your allies and companions will gather, or how Kratos is going to interact with people like the blacksmith, remains to be seen. And speaking of the blacksmith, let's talk about the new crafting system that is completely tossing away the old simplistic one currency upgrade system. So while this is nothing new for gaming as far as resource gathering and crafting goes, it's definitely weird to see it inside a God of War game, and could be a breath of fresh air, or it could be something that is just tedious and uninspired. It remains to be seen. Although I can confidently say seeing the God of War Dawn of Breastplate is very strange, and I'm not sure if my eyes are ever going to adjust to that. In addition to being able to equip different chest pieces and weapons, it also seems that stats and equipment are going to be tied directly together. So whatever Kratos currently has equipped is going to affect his overall stats. And having stats in a God of War game is also something that's brand new. So the stats have been broken down into 6 categories, and that is strength, which increases damage for all standard attacks; runic abilities, which increases both runic and elemental damage; defense, which reduces all damage taken; vitality increases maximum health and decreases the severity of hit reactions. So super armor, or at least not getting staggered, is going to be tied directly into vitality and health. Luck increases perk activation chance, increases experience, and hack silver gains, which hack silver is one of the currencies that we've seen Kratos pick up in that footage. And the last stat is cooldown, which is pretty self-explanatory. Reduces recharge time of rune attacks, rune summons, and talismans. Now, that last part is interesting because we haven't seen any rune summons or talismans yet. So there's definitely a lot more to come once we actually get either closer to God of War's release date or just get our hands on the game. I do like that they have been slowly drip feeding a lot of details and keeping a lot hidden under the table. I like to be kept curious. I like not having lots of spoilers thrown at me. And the marketing for this game so far has been very consistent with all that. But hey, this is a God of War game, and I don't think anyone's picking this up to spend hours and hours inside menus. And I think people over at Sony Santa Monica know this, because this footage jumps right into the next combat scenario, which is going to please a lot of old school God of War fans, I think, because this is a much more classic God of War here. We get to focus on some brutal finishers where Kratos literally rips his opponents apart with his bare hands. And this part also includes a classic QTE sequence where we slowly get to pummel our opponent to death and enjoy the absolutely amazing sound effects as they really add another layer of depth to an already very visually appealing game. And that'll wrap things up for today. Gaming Instincts TV will be leaving you right here. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you've enjoyed this video, and click the notification bell to stay up to date and know when a new video is ready. Please make sure you check out our website too over at GamingInstincts.com for the latest daily news, featured articles, reviews, and much more.